Welcome to my lovely HP community and the 5D Collective. To those who are new, we had a couple more episodes, so you might want to tune into some of them since we have usually themes, but if you don't, whole hearts. Insecure people, not whole hearts. Any person who doesn't yet own their secure attachment is not yet whole. Wholeness means you don't have a longing for another person. Okay, so internally securely attached. And then you're also doing mindfulness mindset and mindset with great ease or desire, either or. So when you hear life's always unfair, but then again, it's not. It is all about perspective. You're not one of those who says, how dare she? Okay, so 5D Mystic, mentor, podcast host, content creator, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit made life quite easy and straightforward to me, and having clairs didn't make anything challenging. In fact, the empowered feminine can tell you all about the bilateral, vertical, and overall integration of a brain and a whole 3-year-old heart. So eternal child is what the emotionally mature person is, and or regained eternal child. So open-hearted, spontaneous, that's what we are. It's people that build passionate and truthful relationships. So you don't have any of the coward business that you will have found from insecurely attached, insecure teenagers to the grown-ups who are insecurely attached to this day. And that's why when you see any person with gender stereotypes or any of that stuff, just remember that they don't know emotional, mature people. And they don't know smart people either. Emotionally mature, open-hearted, spontaneous people, we build relationships that are passionate and speaking truthfully, because otherwise, where's the emotional mature? So as an empowered feminine, I'm going to be bringing you some of those themes, because my collective here, they're all with the ascension energies. And it's not that you're mine. You all know that. You're not mine. We don't own anything as a solo poly community, or for me, you're not my property, and I don't do hierarchy. You're each and every one of you special and unique, and that's actively what happens when you are empowered. So you know that you are only one of a kind. Why? Because your energetic imprint is yours. Not to mention that the body, really, your embodied brain is yours. So although our nervous system only has those 3 modes to respond, your left mode likes to accumulate a lot of mental thoughts, narratives, activities, right? So you got a bunch of stories to share with us, which is why we share together. News stories, though. We don't have monsters. There's no Lucifer. The monsters that are there are actively something we take seriously, because we can all be somebody's monster. We take seriously knowing that those who don't own their mind don't own their brain, and therefore don't own bilateral, vertical, or overall integration, which means they also don't own their heart. They don't own their body. Yeah, they don't own their self. So when you don't own yourself and you're not a whole, that's why you can do, as I stated before, all of the yoga, nature walks, mindfulness meditation, and spiritual or personal growth practices that you want, but you will not achieve inner stillness or enlightenment without being anchored in ventral and owning your sense of self from and with knowing healthy self-regulation and soothing in the absence of another person. So it's in your body state of safety, in connection and not protection. Why without me? Because that's how you're going to know, like Pat Ogden says, that you're a non-traumatized person. Because now you can work with thoughts and emotions, and you can say, I don't want to do personal development growth or spiritual growth or mastery. I just want to stay with my charges. And now you've made a conscious will choice. As this one person who says we have no free will and no self. And as always, I mean, anybody can make their hypotheses. They could be true. That's why I'm grounded in reality, because I can know anything that comes out of my mouth might be falsifiable. And that's how smart people work. So that's why we do this and that are true, which is why we're not hypocrites. We actively just know how to use science, spirituality, and anything you give me to make what is called a linear and not linear, but it'll be able to be conciliant and make sense. Because I won't take it out of context. I'll put it in context. Okay, that's why even if you use words wrong, I might say, okay, I think I get it. Or maybe I'll say, hey, wait, what do you mean by that one? Even though I'm not picky with words, but that's how you learn to speak with people and people with you when you don't use dictionaries all the time. And so you learn to speak from your heart without being afraid to be yourself, and to navigate the thread of your vessel, the insula, and just everything. And this is why we count the ways that we love each other securely, with secure attachment, functional inner child adults, mindfully and flawed, but with integrity. Okay, so emotionally mature people, that's where open-hearted spontaneity is really fun. You know why? Because you express the fears that you will have and you don't lose the innocence that you're sharing with each other. And so as you grow up, if you're a person who does know that life's always unfair, but then again it's not, that really depends on your perspective, and that you have a good deal. Why? Because you got 2 hands, 2 feet, you got family, you got the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities, okay? And so we have a person who is, though, again, internally self-aware with secure attachment, because they're accountable and regulating. So they take life as it comes and then they share it. Healthy self-regulated, healthy self-soothing, and healthy adult relationships. And that's why it's always going to be full of passion, because you can speak your truth without needing terror. Some people can use terror so that they can grow up, men and women, emotionally, love themselves first, and Patrick Chan too, and then they will be able to have the same type of emotionally mature conversations that I'm talking to you about, and relationships, which are not hard to do. No, they're actively not hard at all. In fact, those of us who live in the present moment find that every 24 hours could be the last of our 24 hours. So we're going to be enjoying it with the people we surround ourselves with. And then we make a commitment. The death do you part, you don't need to do it the way of anyone. It's 2 or more people. No, it's 2 minimum. The third, it depends. So here's where, if you're a polyamory community person, you're not poly enough. And you also don't do, I'm changing who I am for you. None of that happens. But also, we're not like, it's a identity, long story short, those conversations, 2 books that are really great for any of you who might want to read up, Poly Secure and Poly Wise. That way you can have something that supports you, because that one is a bit, going to say, for emotionally mature men, it's nothing, meaning that they're mature. But if you find somebody who's not mature, you are prepared to be able to talk about something, if you're interested in a way that says, hey, here's some books you can read up, we can talk about it. And there you go. Just providing you with some ideas, because I do know of emotionally mature men. I've talked to them, and the emotionally insecure man will have a very different way to respond when you say, no, it's I love more than one person, not fucking, I might never fuck them, who knows. And they're like, no. And so when you have people who are afraid to lose a human being, that's why they do it like this. And also remember, I'm a Malian heritage, so every person will want minimum 1 securely attached figure, which is where that sharing of the life, which is why it's the no. And then there's other things that, monogamous people have told me, there's no way in hell that I'm sharing anyone. I'm not saying you have to do anything. We're just chit-chatting. So it's always nice to see, as our culture, societal culture, expands with emotionally mature conversations, which is what we get to bring to each other. So when you meet people who are emotionally mature, they don't go and get in each other's faces. The ones that, however, are rigid and harsh, again, remember, they're unforgiving because they're adaptive child part people, and they're in a threat response, and they have non-bilateral integration, and they've chosen to allow themselves to insult yoga, Reiki, Akashic record readers, poly, mono, pronouns, meaning that they're just not willing to understand groups of people with a little bit more flexibility. And in the end, though, if they don't meet emotionally mature people from those groups, they're not going to get. Are you poly enough is an immature person who just gave a bad rap to the poly group. But when I go to forums and see, ew, you're polygamous, that's gross. Wow. Okay then. Or when you see other forums who tell you that people, these are all identities that are really rigid, and that are the people who are not helping to create conversation. So they're not emotionally mature. They're immature, and they're acting like teenagers, and they're not creating a culture where we can talk about things. And actually, they threatened our freedom of speech. Our active freedom of speech consistently is threatened because of all of this stuff. So the sweet spot, we haven't gotten there yet, but luckily we got a bunch of people who are trying to see and figure out, and we move through those. But anyways, that's a side note. Emotionally mature individuals in general will always be able to have harmonious conversations and spontaneous ones as you grow up. That's what I got to see as people grow up. The teenagers that I still know around, basically, are people like, we're not decent enough to be saluted. That's really the worst case scenario. The rest is humorous and not Luciferian at all. It's just people who find themselves on Pinocchio's island having a good time. And so that choice of free will, or conscious will is that you do have a self. If you get ownership and you're a inner child adult, you're going to have an emotionally mature relationship with yourself and then with people, because your child parts are asleep. And that's where mindset, mindfulness, and mindset practices support you to continue engaging in an anchored ventral, because when you do deal with the herald of change and the storms of life, that is the moment of truth, unknowns, uncertainties, unwanteds. Do you want to do it open-heartedly while going with the flow, or do you want to be a Zen master who says, I got laundry? And so with our relationships, every single one of those that you get to encounter is a gift from God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, from Akash, Source, Universe, from my spiritual community, whatever words you use. But it's not a divine connection. It isn't God's going to send you the right man, the right woman. These are words I've seen, again, for those who are seeking a life partner with longing, which I understand everybody's going to go look for that which gives them a reassuring, because they are afraid of dying alone. And this is where people who are manipulable are non-bilaterally integrated brains of adaptive child part people who actively are all insecure, which is why I call them Peter Pans and lost boys, because that's what they end up being. Because they are not aware of their longing, of their half. It's not a half, it's a ruptured or whatever it is. You can heal that, and you get ownership of your mind, of your brain, all of it, and your body. Like Patrick Tian says, you get to reparent, get out of hypervigilance, and become an empowered inner child adult. And you don't have anyone, not your boss, not another, speak in your face and you feel like a little piece of shit. And that's the part of where, organically speaking, I believe there are those who can walk themselves through this path. But what I've noticed is that they have to have a really good self-aware, accountable, and regulating within their own inner self to be able and get all the way back home. And I'm going to leave that because that's for a side note. In the meantime, emotionally mature people will work together with the good therapist, with the people, if there's that. And when there is, that's why it always continues to be, we're speaking truthfully. Oh, and you don't do inconsistent communication. So that's the other part. You actively are not going to be in a relationship that lacks passion and connection. Terry Real, he likes to say adults have conditions. I don't agree, but then again, I will agree with the condition he was presenting in one of his recent videos, which was about, we're going to go and heal. If you got a situation with drugs or alcohol, if you got a situation with borderline, you got it, whatever situation, you're going to go and get it done. And yeah, definitely, if you're living a lifelong life with someone, that's number one, because till death do you part. Sickness and what? Am I going to watch as you wither away in unhealthiness? No, I don't think so. So this is that part of where with education comes with good brain listening to the education and the knowledge, because you don't need a master's degree, but you need to be open ear to all of it and spot the golden nuggets, which are golden nuggets, and then spot the smart ones who are giving you a bountiful of it that can support. And so you know yourself, you listen, you hear, you learn, and then you share the information in a way to support people to become their own self. And that's why you are empowered to use your brain, mind, and body effectively when your inner child is asleep, and you won't be manipulated by anyone, because you will have what is called, I see, soothe, safe, secure, my own 1-year-old. And I don't look for that. So once you're aware of this part of you with the attachments category, that way you can figure out where your self is at. If you're a secure attachment, great, it's a whole self. Then you learn how to work with the emotions and thoughts, get a window of welcome to your emotions. And then once that's happening, you get to interact with people and notice healthy self-worth ones and the ones who are not. And you allow yourself, not to say you vomited or, vomit, trauma, whatever. These people who use words like this, insulting each other and not even being compassionate, you are able to reiterate in general healthy boundaries. I've done it a gazillion times. Just recently I finally was able to in time get what I was explaining from the number one day of this situation that I got to deal with, because when a person's a teenager version of themselves, they are like my facade friend, just seeking for what they're looking for in a body that is suffering. Their longing is that they want something that creates more meaning in their life because they don't have a wholeness yet. They don't regulate in their ventral energy. Being a leader does not mean dominating the situation. It means empowering people to do what they would not have imagined possible, said Guru. So people who think that all people are manipulable, they, one, have this stereotype. I saw it as a kid. Two, they don't even bother to try and own themselves so that they can allow this complete depth of knowingness of you. And so three, also, just FYI, we're not living in the movies. So anytime I'm hearing somebody bring that up, I'm like, okay, and I'm a grown-up now, so really that's not what happens. The last time I heard it, I was a teenager, and I'm like, sure, you keep talking. With the scientists, I know very well what they talk to us about, and that's because I'm interested. Mental health, neuroscience, neurobiology. So obviously we all can be manipulable in some way, shape, or form, but what these people are talking about always seems very disrespectful, because they make it seem like the masses don't own anything. And while it's true that we have the masses of lost boys and Peter Pan's falling fancy man and woman in suit, yes, those masses aren't being manipulated. They actively believe in the gender stereotypes and the rigidity in those thought processes. So the reality is, those who will have chosen that they rather be not compassionate and to stay in this, really, it's their free will, conscious choice. Some will say no because their childhood was full of, this. Again, they're not emotionally available to themselves. So we don't really need to look into it, though, because we're not going to be around those people. The laws are what we look to. So empowered people use their brains, and they know where to go and how to work things, and they don't create stories to get people all riled up. No, we create empowered groups of people to bring, again, more wisdom and to ease each other and to really allow every day to be a day that is used effectively, because again, 24 hours is all you got. So grounded in reality is what mindfully living and loving with spirituality, living and loving people will do. Why? Because again, I appreciate you. You spent time here. And so emotionally mature men, women, they appreciate each other. They speak truthfully. They don't waste each other's time. That's very disrespectful, because you don't have any of it necessarily. You don't know. Anybody who doesn't recognize what they're doing, like my facade friend, and see, to a person who expresses who they are authentically, you just wasted my time. Whenever I have met those who are people, the please appeasers come out of the woodwork, out of nowhere, and it takes them the longest, just to give you an example. And I remember the 2 or 3 incidences but I had gotten attachment trauma informed by the second one, and I just said, you need to leave it alone because they're not aware of this. But I was infuriated beyond a shadow of a doubt, because again, like with my facade friend, I'm not asking you to make me happy. I'm not asking you to lie. I'm asking you to be yourself. But these people don't own their self, and so they're trying to allow another human being to love them by making them happy, and that's not what love is. So this is the part of where emotionally mature people aren't trying to get anything from you. They're just having a good time. Authentic men, authentic women, authentic people have this ownership of sense of self, and luckily for us, the great therapists out there are helping anybody who wants it to get there. And from that moment forth, then people will decide if they want to keep on doing the gender stereotypes or whatnot. Now they have an option. Now they can be void of being manipulable by reductive, idiotic, by the way, conversations. The whole bear thing, I'm just, I already did my bachelor's and master's. I already met idiots there, because anytime ego's around, it's an idiot. Anytime you are not able to conceptualize something in more than 2 arenas, I'm already finding myself, what the hell are you doing? And then I remind non-bilaterally integrated brain people can only use the linearity. So they start to get overwhelmed when you're using more than one thing because they can't touch each other. So now I'm just out. That's how brain works. By the way, that way of thinking is equal to how I saw this man make men look like dumb apes to me. And the minute I'm watching all these videos, I'm like, what the fuck? All these married couples are here laughing their asses off. I'm just thinking, are you ridiculously kidding me? I'm not marrying anyone if this is what you think of your brain, men. And then now that I'm attachment trauma informed, I'm like, okay, starting to make a lot more sense. Okay, so emotionally immature, non-available men, women, or theys are going to be of uninterest to any human being who has the capacity to own their own embodied self. That's all. This is, again, a child that is a grown-up that has confidence and that is empowered. And that's why it's going to be really great for all those emotionally mature people to finally have a bunch of us, thanks to the time it took for all those researchers to do all their research. Dr. Daniel Siegel, Bezel van der Kolk, Stephen Porges. Faith is faith, spirituality, spirituality. We've had many come to look to bring us all together. Finally, the time has come, and thankfully we still have Sadhguru around to bring us all together under one. And then there's those of us who know we're one, and then we got the ones who like to still use the word Luciferian anytime they get that opportunity. And then it's like, okay, well, they're obviously in that group over there because they need to keep it all separate. It can't touch together. And so that's the part of where you just allow yourself to remember that some of us are creators because we can conceptualize with the adolescent essence, and that's thanks to us having an inner world that is ours. And then we will hopefully welcome more people to get that ventral vagal anchored in. I see bountiful of people taking themselves seriously. And that's with personality disorders like Kylie. She's an honor to watch as her and her boyfriends heal. And that's because I can only imagine how hard that is. I have a child-centric environment, so I'm lucky for real. And every time I see somebody welcoming their eternal child back home, and doesn't matter if it's going to take them 20 years, as Bezel van der Kolk points out, although he was talking about studies for not childhood trauma, but adult trauma. So he was talking about, anyways. The beautiful news again is that we can have more people move into mental, emotional, and physical maturity because of these individuals who give them the ability to own their mental health, their inner well-being, and the people who care enough about themselves and their relationships and their life to actively go and do what the Chichu chain did and get over the hump. And so again, the relationships that are here are not here because of 144,000 chosen or the twin flame or any of that, which the community of mystics have made out to be that one group is supposedly fighting against something. Ego is always fighting someone because that's that left mode. And really what I should say is, again, it just makes me think they're playing God. And they keep on doing it. So I can't take them seriously as a person that comes with faith. Okay? That's I'm like hearing you use words and play stories out that don't have any grounded reality. Again, I'm not a flat earther. It's the year 2025, so I know exactly where I'm at in this moment in time, and I'm hearing stories that are fabulous. Elsa, love your journey. I could follow it all day long, Hansel and Gretel, and there you go. So a brain that is actively following it, it's because that could make sense. Groundedness, anything I say can be falsifiable. Anything you say I can follow, as well as say maybe it is falsifiable. I just don't care to make it falsifiable because it's none of my business. It's your 3-year-old playground, not mine. I got mine. She's right here. I just told you, emotional mature men, women days. It's awesome. I love to love, and my baby, he loves to learn and he loves to expand and not cast stones and, be in an integrated brain with an inner child adult, and there you go. So we'll be back with more. We get to have face-offs. It's passionate ones too. Intellectual is always stimulating to those of us who love to think, and those of us who have positive emotions. We don't do any of the Zen master's laundry. And we don't do anything of the life is hard. We do, life can be a lot of things. And we talk serious. When it's time to talk serious, we talk serious. But we do it with a ventral energy because that's how it works when you're self-soothing in a self-regulating, healthy nervous system, because you realize the sky isn't falling, Chicken Little. We're right here, right in front of us. And so we're open-heartedly appreciating. You see, again, mindfully living and loving people talk to each other with their prefrontal cortex. That which people who are non-bilaterally integrated, the facades like my facade friend, and I'll just close on now with a story. Okay, so one, emotionally mature men, women days, we spend depth of emotion, passion, intellect, all. That's just what I'm trying to share, at least from this subjective experiencing human being, okay? The mystic as well, remember, because there is a difference. We have a lot of past lives. I do, at least. I don't know about you, but I know my future one too. And one of them, I'm sure there's plenty more before that one comes along. But long story short, as I pause myself to get back to seriousness, which now I'm losing my train of thought. Damn it. Okay, lost it. So I don't know what I was going to say. For some reason, it was not meant to be. What I can tell you, though, is that you're in good company when you're with emotionally mature people because you have a good time. And the story. got it back. So facade people, when they're going through shit, where life's unfair, I got a woman next to me. I'm trying to talk serious business. My facade friend with my other facade friend, they're both acting like usual dickheads, because that's what facades are at the end of the day. The dickheads are the clowns and the men, and then the women get hysterical and chaotic, which I don't appreciate. But then again, that's exactly how it works when they're not securely attached men and women. I don't know any days. So in the meantime, I'm trying to have what is a prefrontal cortex conversation so they can process, own, witness, allow themselves to be in a good, and so I'm doing that thing. And my other two bit of idiots they come in, one philosophical, one like the clown he is, and they both just keep chiming in, and I'm like, why do you do this? So when we're going home, my facade friend, like, what the fuck? You interrupted me like all these times, and I was trying to have a serious, because she didn't want to think, Maria. That's not going to help her. Doesn't matter what you wanted to do. No, but that's not helping her to do anything. No, she wanted distraction. You know what? I'm going to verify if she wanted distraction, and I went to verify. She wanted distraction. So guess what an emotionally mature person tells people who want distraction? I don't do distraction. You're going to have to go somewhere else. I was rejected at 4. I'm too serious and I don't want to drive in the car. I wanted them to sit down and read. So there you go. I'm so sorry. No, I'm not sorry. That's just who I am. And that's why as you grow up, you get to have a good time. Because see, this is when people know she don't do distraction. And I get to go and do serious. They get to go distract and everybody's happy. So emotionally mature people. We have depth of emotion, but we don't do it by distracting ourselves. We do it by getting into other stuff. So we'll be back again with more stories. In the meantime, thanks for stopping by.